I'm like, look, all I know to do, because I have nothing else, got on my knees one morning, put on Gyra, and just like the first words, because I'm so familiar with the song, it just broke me. And I felt definitely like the presence of God just comforting me. And while tears just ran down my face, and just knowing that I have to lean on Him and I have to just kill my pride and thinking I can figure it all out. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Roots and Streams podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Llamas. And if you are just listening to this, as always, I always let you know whether I'm coming at this solo or with a guest. And today is another solo podcast. And if you're a fan of that, great, get excited. And if not, I don't know, maybe you'll tune out. Maybe you just want to hear somebody else and another person's perspective. But you'll really only get mine. But really, it's not only mine today, because I will be talking about book that I've been reading, and we are never really talking about ideas that are just our own. Man, I feel like I got really too deep and and meta there for to kick things off. But I just want to also take a moment to just thank everybody who's been listening in, commenting, continuing conversations, encouraging, just wondering like how the podcast has been going. And been loving the interaction, and I appreciate all of like the likes and the hearts and the comments. For one, it just kind of helps me to know, okay, there's people watching. Not that I should like lean on that heavily, but hey, we're all human, right? And I want to be sure that this has been of service and at least the very least entertaining, and also maybe just to get some thoughts going, and to get some insight, or to rethink about some things that are going on in your life, or to, cause some conversation for you and maybe somebody else. So all that, just really appreciate everybody who's been listening. I really am grateful to all of you. Especially, I know there's a handful that it's like not even skipped an episode, which is crazy to me, because this is like over 20 episodes, and that's a lot of hours of, hearing mostly me. So I appreciate it. I'm really grateful that you tune in, and I'm really grateful for God for making, for providing the season of my life, and for it to finally kick off. And I'm really trying to not skip a Friday, and I haven't so far, outside of taking breaks, which was intentional. And so, that's why I'm continuing with the solo podcast. I'm working on guests. Like I said last time, I have one booked out. I'm contacting other people, but this is definitely a time where I could use some more interest in guests. So like I said, some other people are I'm reaching out to them, but also I know there's people listening that like have some opinions or some ideas or some stories that want to share on some of the topics that I've been talking about, or maybe something completely different. Or maybe it's like, Matt, you know what? You're always almost talking about this subject, and I really want to see what you think about it, and just share, what I've learned from it. And I'm open for all of that. So, it might be a little intimidating to come onto a podcast or to talk, that people will be seeing you. I can guarantee, if you've watched me long enough, I'm not going to try to like put you into a corner and like force really difficult questions and anything. I really don't want to have people coming onto the podcast talking about things that they're not comfortable talking about. That doesn't make sense to me. I hope that it's something that you've thought out, and maybe you might push yourself a little bit, and that's great, as long as you're comfortable with it. But I'm not going to sit here and try to, put you on the spot. So, if you're thinking about possibly being a guest or reaching out to me, I think it could be fun. I think a lot of other people can really benefit from your insight. So, text me, call me, hit me up in any of the social media or any of the comments. I'd very much appreciate that. And I think so will the audience. One other thing, I'm going to make kind of a, what is, oh my gosh, kind of just going to toot my, not to my own horn, kind of going to give a shameless plug. That was the tagline I was looking for, a shameless plug here of my own. If maybe you heard, and I said it like in a one-off, and I've said it here and there and to people that are close to me. But if you haven't heard, I have started a coaching service. And it is like similar to this podcast, just kind of launching it. Definitely figuring things out as I go, as far as like the website. There is a website that really simply sums up, and it provides a link where you can ask for a 30-minute free consultation. And to be fully transparent, fully honest, like I've mentioned in another episode, I don't plan on charging anyone right now. I think right now I'm very much in like my beta mode. And you may say, well, I don't want to experience Matt's, like, I don't want to be a guinea pig. I can say with confidence that I've been coaching, or at least in the coaching realm for some time now, over 10 years. It might not be exactly on where I'm trying to focus now, which is more so on like the entangling of like life things and finding clarity and peace in like life decisions and growth and in personal relationships, right? Not as focused as that. But it was always around that. And I have definitely dedicated myself to studying and learning and taking classes while I was in my previous career coaching teachers. And I think it can now more so take root, and I can use it to, I think, even deeper, in a deeper way, allow people to benefit from those things I've been training in. So I'm excited to push further into that. And I will be working on getting a specific like life coaching certification that is pretty well known in the industry. So I want to work towards that, just to get it on somewhere. I'm not big on certificates or certifications, but I do want to get it, just to get it. And I do need coaching hours to do that. So you'll be doing me that favor. Hopefully I'm doing you a favor of helping to just be heard, untangle some things, and if you want it to be more so setting goals and being held accountable, I can do that. I know it's not usually how like I rock, but if there's somebody I trust, then I usually feel comfortable with setting goals and being held accountable. So if you find that with me, we can do the same thing. So reach out to me. The website, again, I'm putting it in the description. There's a free like 30-minute session. Like I said, everything is free right now. I know it is a problem for me of not charging. But there's something to like, at least this kickoff, I'm in a place where I can not charge. And my goal is to get at least 10 people on weekly, because I need 100 hours. And if I get 10 people, weekly for 100 hours, it's only, 10 weeks. That's pretty quick, where I can get certified and get that. I can't guarantee it will always be free. As you may have heard before, I have 4 kids, I have a house, a wife, and I will have to charge eventually. And I think it'll be worth something. And I hope you feel like, from experiencing it, you feel like it's worth something. So I feel like that's the sum of what I wanted to share of where the coaching is. I do currently have 2 clients, which are on almost weekly, and I have a third one that's interested. So, spots are somewhat filling up. I don't want to sound like a salesperson, like, it's selling out fast and there's only so many spots. It slowly is. So just, if you're interested, reach out to me, or just, you can use the link on the website and set it up that way, and it'll be via Zoom or in person. So just wanted to share that. And one other thing, if there's like, again, I think it goes with the guests. I'm looking for topics, and even like coaching, as I'm trying to find my niche. So, in kind of getting certified, working out the structure of the coaching, I feel like I'm getting there. I feel like I have some more confidence as I get more sessions in. But I am curious, and I'm just wondering if I should go down this route of like kind of building out like courses, like topics. And I'm wondering is there anything like that people like that you are listening to, and you're like, hey, you know what? I wish I can ask Matt, or he can spend more time talking to me about this thing he talked about, whether it's, about, and one topic, the main topic of today, like the asking for affection or love or intimacy, and kind of killing your pride when it comes to talking with your significant other, or sharing emotions, or fatherhood, or honestly cooking, or technology. Anything that you've heard or that of me. I've asked my wife, and she was hard for her to kind of pinpoint one thing. And we feel like people usually talk to me just openly. And then I kind of just help them to reflect and kind of see like what their options are or what's going on, and it helps them to just kind of get like a bird's view of what's happening. I don't know like if that's something that like how do I deliver that like via a class or something. But if you see something, if you've heard something here that I'm sharing, please let me know. Please. I would really appreciate any feedback on like topics or specific just things that you think I would be good at coaching on specifically. Again, my coaching right now, it kind of has its focus, but and maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe that's already a good enough focus. But if there's anything else, like like specifically that when you hear me or you think about, man, I wish I could ask Matt about that or learn more about that, please let me know. It's definitely a service I would like to provide. One that if there is something there, I'd like to know about it because I'd like to provide a little bit more in depth on that to be a service of you all. All right. I really don't want to make this a habit of like giving all the updates. Maybe it'll be a thing. I just don't want to bore anybody, and then because I know I've listened to podcasts of like skipping the first 10 minutes or so. But that's that. And so getting into the topic of today, for one, it is very big on a recent life experience, and also that, guys, I finished the book. I finished Fully Alive. Like, yay to finishing books. Like, actually, even read the like the after, like the extra chapter that's not even a part of the book. And so it was a great read. I highly recommend Fully Alive. It sounds interesting, it's saying, oh, this book's about the seven deadly sins. And I think kind of pitching it that way doesn't fully give it justice for what it is. I think more so it's like how to really focus on living a life that feels fully alive and in guidance from like those seven deadly sins, to kind of look at those and take those as certain lenses in different areas of our life. It's not about like the scary things of the seven deadly sins and trying to condemn you or anything like that. It just points in those different areas and what it looks like today in like our modern world and Western culture, and how even though she is Christian, Elizabeth Oldfield, the author, doesn't have like a heavy hand on the Christianity part, but she does use like Christian and biblical wisdom and rituals and practices and practices sounds kind of weird, but I don't know why right now, but like just wisdom and ways and to kind of fight back against that in very healthy, life-giving, that's what's called Fully Alive, right? Ways. I don't know, my description, I feel like I'm not doing it justice. But and then at the very end, she does like kind of talk about the elephant in the room, how she just loosely is touching on God and her Christianity. That's like the very last chapter. So she saves that for the end and very much so wants to just share kind of her insight and studies on those different seven deadly sin areas and how they show up in our lives today and how we can combat them, for everybody, not just somebody who's looking for a religious way. So at the very end, she talks about pride, and it kind of like got me loosely connecting, and hopefully it all makes sense today. Thinking about my recent marriage counseling session where I was kind of like beating around the bush, and I didn't know it. I wasn't necessarily doing it on purpose of like beating around the bush and talking about different issues. And finally, when I pinpointed it, it kind of surprised me because this is something that I am not, at least I didn't think I was afraid to share about. Like my love tank was feeling empty, and I could feel myself as I was saying that. Say that my love tank was feeling empty, and that kind of comes from love language, kind of titles or verbiage, in the sense that I just don't feel loved, I don't feel appreciated, or I don't feel like I'm important, all those things. And I think when I knew, I could feel myself in our session, like needing to say that, but I was like feeling like something fighting back, like, ugh, then I gotta like feel weak. I gotta feel like I'm this victim, and I gotta feel like I'm like pitying, like I need you to pity me. And it was this weird, like, and very, very difficult, like paradox happening, right? But I knew, because like I share these things with you all and with other people, and have listened and learned about love languages, and know the importance of sharing, like when you need affection, or when your love tank is low. But I felt like this really strong like pushback, and I just like kind of said it like reluctantly, like, you know what, my my love tank is just low, saying that to our counselor and to Sandra, thinking that, oh, here comes Matt again, the guy who just needs so much affection and is just so needy, which it feels like. And maybe I am. I don't know. All I can do is be honest about where I am today and now, and how it went. And maybe I'll figure out how to not be so needy, but I am. And maybe we all are. I don't know. I don't know enough. I haven't talked to enough people about that. And my main love language is, or at least currently, is quality time, and then physical touch. And I know it's difficult, especially today, for people who their love language is quality time. Again, so there's gift giving, there's acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the five love languages. And we need a little bit of all of them, but there's usually like one main one and then like a second one. And so I'm sharing, like, and I say, my love tank is low, and again, it's quality time. And the good thing is that, Sandra's response, like, I know when I share things like that and I'm honest, and we're in a place where usually where there's a mediator, because it's hard when the kids are kind of crazy and dinner needs to be cooked and we need to go somewhere, and I'm sharing like, hey, my love tank is low. It probably comes off as like, ugh, one more thing, like, oh great, my husband feels like he's unloved. But because we had a dedicated time and we were being very intentional about our marriage and working on it, it was a good place, safe place to share that. And she took it well, and it helped. It definitely helped her know where I was, and it wasn't like this other thing that she was assuming. It was just, hey, my love tank is low. And it made me wonder, like, why is it so hard to ask for affection or ask for affirmation? And I would think, especially as a man, right? I think some men or husbands or bachelors or whoever, right? Like, will try to find it by taking a trip to Vegas and maybe doing some things we shouldn't do, or strip clubs, or talking to women, or video games, or just looking makes me think of that song, looking for love in all the wrong places. And I think maybe even sometimes, even culturally or social norms kind of things, of like a man saying like, hey, I feel like I'm unloved, I feel kind of lonely today, saying that to your wife. Like, even me saying that right now, I'm sure there's some men like, oh, come on, Matt, like, you're so weak, or that's so dumb. But again, I'm on this podcast recording myself because I just need to be more of who I am and where I am today. And if you can accept it, you can. If not, it's okay. But I know that's really the only way that I can kind of like break through my pride of not wanting to be honest. And sometimes we don't know, right? It wasn't until I was in that conversation, taking that time, and it dawned on me, like, man, I'm just not feeling loved. And I wonder if there's weakness in the need for love, right? Or to be honest, like, and even if it is weak, like, is there strength in that weakness? It's just interesting. And so it's kind of wrestling with that and wondering, and in learning from being honest about where I was in my marriage for that, and on that day, I got a really positive response and got, affection, and I got what I needed, and I felt reconnected. And that then overflows into my other relationships with my kids. And not to say that, my kids, they, or whoever's around me, friends, family, get the worst of me, when my love tank is low, because I still will try to make an effort, because I know it's important to not only show up, when you're feeling great, and not only love on other people when you feel loved, but it is a lot easier. And I'm sure the love from me and the hugs from me and words from me sound a lot sweeter and feel a lot better when my love tank is filled, right? And I can fill up other people's a little faster. And I think it's like this reciprocal thing. And when we can be honest about it is when it can be addressed. And then, we can feel, hopefully somebody can respond to us. And if not, then like work on that. Like, as a couple, I'm sure me and Sandra have done this work for like the last 2 to 3 years. So maybe for you in the beginning, it may, your spouse may feel like, oh my gosh, that sounds so overwhelming. But hopefully through working at it, kind of understand and figure out ways and to address each other's needs and ways of feeling loved. If you don't know each other's love languages, and even for your kids, right? I was talking about it yesterday with somebody, and I think it's important. And I think the love language website, I'm sure you can find it just by searching for love languages. There's also one for kids, for teenagers, and you can learn theirs. And that's been helpful for me to be more intentional with my time with each of them. But I also know that, and this is partly why, like I maybe was wrestling with just letting out, hey, my love tank is low, because this is not the first time I've said something like that, especially with having 2 newborns in the last 3 years, right? It's been a lot that we've had on our plate. And most often, unfortunately, our intimacy, our marriage can take a back seat because there's babies crying, and there's kids that need to get to school, and there's homework that needs to be done, and there's work that needs to happen, especially before I quit my job, and even after, now that I'm moving into something new that is taking some time. And it made me think like, okay, am I being over emotional, right? Is it because I'm stressed or feel anxious or tired, or like, how do I know, like, really, should I look for this love and affirmation in my wife, or is this like out of anxiety and stress? And I would encourage you, and I try to do it myself, and I've done a lot of it, and I've talked about it on this podcast about looking kind of inward before looking outward, right? For comfort. It's like, wait, okay, let me just take a pause. Like, wow, is there something to this immense loneliness and stress right now? Is it because I'm worried about finances? Is it because I haven't forgiven, something that happened to me a long time ago and it keeps coming up in other ways? Right? Is there this other thing? And I think that is a very wise thing to do, is to take a moment. For me, I know not for everyone that's listening to this, low spiritual and Christian, specifically. And I'll ask God, like, God, what's behind this? Like, why do I feel so empty and anxious right now? And from my experience, when I asked, the Holy Spirit to do that, and you can call it like intuition or the universe, whatever you want to call it, and kind of meditated on it for a while, for not even that long, I feel like my brain will reveal, like, and maybe it doesn't happen for you. And I feel like if it isn't, it's like, no, you know what? I just miss my wife, or I just need a hug from somebody, or I just need to talk to this friend. I need to go out to coffee with this friend. And that's kind of, why there's something holding me back. I'm not sure. So I think that's important, right? Because then we don't want to always like push that needy love onto everybody. And I really didn't, I really even regret saying that, because I would say if anything, lean towards reaching out to people, more than thinking that your love is needy. because I think it's probably just where we are, like on the balance of things. I think probably more so people hesitate to really connect with one another, to really be honest about their emotions and just kind of go about their day, right? Go from place to place. How are you? Oh, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, things are good. And then talk about the weather, talk about events coming up, laugh about some things, politics, and then on to the next one, right? Instead of really connecting, because we really need that connection to somebody to feel like some aliveness. Um, and, and I think because what keeps us from that, and what was keeping me from it, which is on the the second to last chapter of that book, Fully Alive by Elizabeth Oldfield, was on pride. Um, and I think at the kind of the crux, at the root of like most of the things that we're doing that keep us from feeling fully alive, that keep us really experiencing like immense like joy, right? I think at the root of it is our pride, right? What was keeping me from sharing with Sandra, my wife, that my love tank was low? I would say, well, having a space to actually share it. But then second, once that space actually presented itself and we were in counseling, I would say the main thing was my pride, right? Did I want to present myself, and, according to whoever, as weak, and saying, I really, been feeling lonely and disconnected, and like my love tank is low right now. I feel like your work is so important, and I'm kind of getting, I feel like I'm on the back burner. And I'm not saying that necessarily like was intentional. It's just how I was feeling. And I think there's a certain amount of pride that we have to kill, which is really difficult to do, to be able to kind of reconnect us. I think once we just kind of say it out loud and wait for somebody to respond, right? When we can kind of put our pride to the side and admit that like we need something, usually there is a response of love. And if not, maybe, we need to question our relationships. If I can't come to this person with a simple like, hey, like I miss you, like, and all we get is like, well, I'm really busy, or, it takes two and you need to make time too. That's could be a flag for, oh, we need to sit and have a conversation about this. Or, am I maybe experiencing some like, some codependency, and, however this person is feeling kind of affects how I'm feeling. Maybe I need to work on this, or I don't know, just something, there may be something deeper there. But typically when we can be honest, it's going to open up something, right? It's going to open up something that we can work on and work towards, and it may be difficult. Or it may be just as simple as getting that response and getting the love that we need. It's like, oh, well, let's book some time. Let's book a date. Let's make sure that we book a date this week to go out. Or, you know what? I know it's been difficult to put the big kids to sleep, but let's try to figure out like a way we can do it. And I think like that need definitely can only get a really strong response and effort is when the other person is honest about where they are. But again, it goes back to our pride. Our pride keeps us from like just asking for a hug, for asking for help. And I know when it comes to like finances, we're financially fine right now. But like even the thought of asking somebody for money, it feels like really heavy for me. And I know it's pride, and I know it's partly like just fear, not wanting to put somebody else like under the pressure, or there's just something with asking for help or saying like, I don't have it. I don't got it today. I need your help. That really like, we really have to like kill the pride in us. And it makes me want to read, part of this book, and hopefully it's not like super long. 'Cause she goes into, talking about individualism, cause the whole book about being fully alive, a huge part of it, probably the number one part of it is being connected. And very much how like in Christianity we're meant to be together. Like there's God, there's Father, Holy Spirit, and Son. So right, that even like thinking of that like as a community, like it's we're all supposed to be in community to love each other as we love ourselves. So it's very big on being connected, and there's many examples like that throughout the Bible, and not because we at least I hear people saying, it's just between me and God, and my relationship is just between me and God, and I don't need anybody else. And it's just a season in my life where all I do is just, pray and be by myself with God. And maybe that's true. I'm not saying that's impossible. But at least in your praise and in your time with God, if he's not pushing you to go reach out to other people, to forgive other people, to have hard conversations with people, to go and be generous to other people, I'd say, I don't know. I'd be curious to know like if God is really there meeting you there. Because from my experiences, usually it's pushing me towards connecting or reconnecting or allowing redeeming relationships or asking for forgiveness or going to appreciate somebody or pushing me to be more generous. That's just from my experience. To me, that makes sense on everything that I've been studying. So in her book, and I thought it's maybe a little bit long, and I read it, I shared it with Sandra, and in rereading it made me think of reading it here. So here it goes. And I just apologize in advance for all of my Frank Sinatra, My Way, like favorite song lovers. But here it goes. So she goes on to say, I find the fact that Frank Sinatra's My Way, so it's a song, a really famous song, I even heard it in Spanish recently, is the most popular funeral song genuinely, So I find the fact that Frank Sinatra's My Way is the most popular funeral song genuinely horrifying. I feel angry even thinking about it, not only because it's a bad song, but because generations have been infected at their most vulnerable moments of deep reflection with the idea that a proud individualism is something to celebrate. The last verse of My Way contains the line that best explains my hatred. It argues that a man has nothing but himself and warns against being one who kneels. That last phrase sung with a stylish sneer. The song summarizes pride for me. It is no surprise that Donald Trump, not trying to get political, just reading the book, danced to it at his inauguration ball. It's a con. What we have at the end of our lives, if we have lived them well, is not ourselves, but a team, a family, whether biological or chosen. The weighty legacy of encounter and relationship that rings a note in eternity. The desire to be invulnerable, so sacred of coercion, or the demands of mutual care that we consistently cut the threads between us and other people is poison. It is sin. And its highest priest is old Blue Eyes. Or Blue Eyes, I think she's referring to like Satan, devil, adversary, whatever you want to call it. So that's that is quite the couple of paragraphs. And I forgot about the Donald Trump part. Like we can get political. I'm fine talking about it. It would be even more so with a guest. Yeah, let me not go down there, down that rabbit hole for a second, and just concentrate on, this song, which I know a couple people in my life, not a whole lot, for sure, at least two that they love that song, right? And they probably thought about maybe even playing it at their funeral. And the fact that she feels this disgust with that at their funeral, because she talks about in her book about how she has learned so much when she was in a period of her life where she was kind of in like this hiatus, like sabbatical, and she spent a lot of her time like going to funerals and would just hear people share about their relationships and how much they loved the person that had passed away, and like things they did for like other people, and just how they had this great heart and they were generous, and saying all these beautiful things about them. And it was really about their relationships, right? If it's important to us about the words that are said after we've passed away, and what will remain in our memories of, and what people have to hold on to. it's really, it seems like those relationships, right? And those experiences. And if all we can think about, and I get it, just because you're saying I did it my way doesn't mean like you're this selfish individual person. You may just like the idea, or you went through times of adversity and you felt like I was by myself, and this song kind of helped lift me up. But I think more so she's getting at, if you always just think like, I'm going to do it my way, like no one else matters, right? There's no sacrifice. There's no, bending. There's no like taking others into consideration. Like I am proudly just, going to give all into this individualism and celebrate that I did it my way and I will not kneel. And she goes on to talking about how kneeling for her can be very freeing, right? Kneeling to something that's greater than her. And she really goes in on it. I mean, don't necessarily hate the song that much. But I had always had that inkling, like, wow, this song is talking about like doing it like my way. And I had always I shared a little bit of, her feeling for that song, not as intensely as she put it. And I think I say intense, but not in a bad way. I think it's beautiful, what she wrote. And it is very, potent and powerful, and a great perspective. But I had always had like that wondering about that song. And I found it interesting how people really like it. And so when she mentioned that, I'm like, man, what a savage thing to say, because I know it is a very popular song. But again, I understand that some people, that they find themselves maybe in just a painful situation, or a long situation, right at the end of their life. And, they just felt like, I tried and people didn't reciprocate. And so I just had to do it my way. And I have, some empathy, and sympathy for that perspective as well. And I wanted to read that part of the book, that I am kind of like sad that I finished, because it's really good. So she definitely writes other articles and has Instagram page. So we'll continue to follow her. And she actually has a podcast, like I mentioned here. It's called The Sacred, which I would highly recommend giving a listen to. And she has definitely way more controversial, guests on hers. And she really goes all in and bringing in atheists, Buddhists, just everything, Muslims, conservative, liberal, like just all of the things, and really big on just us hearing from different perspectives. And so after that pride one, and kind of reconnecting to like asking for help, asking for love, and killing that pride, it kind of, and you may not see the tie here, it kind of tied me into her next chapter, which is in talking about God, kind of like the God bomb, as she mentions, as she really tried to steer away from it as much as not steer away, but didn't want to overtly, bring it up. So she saved a chapter for it, and really talks about how, she does that because she really holds it as sacred ground to talk about the divine. And it's not something that, she takes lightly, and thinks that, if you haven't experienced like some kind of greater power or divinity or the universe or whatever you want to call it, I'm okay with, that it's really hard to explain, right? And to be able to see that there's like this greater thing than us, it does take, some pride killing, right? But I think maybe what comes before the pride killing, now that I'm thinking about it, even though I wrote out this outline here, is an experience, right? Like, why am I going to kill a pride if I've never like experienced the love, or I don't believe that there's something greater than us, or I don't believe we're all supposed to be connected, because I've never seen any proof of it. And one thing that was written that I found really interesting is, how some of us, we're trying to evangelize and share the gospel, or share, our religion, and want to read people like the words and argue and debate. And I just, I don't know if that's always the way to reach everybody. Um, but she mentioned how it's similar to if you've never been to the ocean, right? Like, or sorry, if you've been to the ocean and you've like stood in front of, we have an ocean here in California. So most people listening are from here, or just a ocean or a body of water, right? Big lake. And you like can smell the ocean and you can feel the wind, and you've seen it, you've seen the waves, and you've been in the water, and you just know the atmosphere and you know the greatness of the ocean. You maybe even felt the power of the waves, right? That is very different than handing somebody a map and look and saying, "Hey, this is the Pacific Ocean right here. You see it on the map. It is amazing. This Pacific Ocean, like it is so grand." Right? Somebody who's never seen the ocean, maybe somebody who like think about, as I mentioned, like somebody who's lived in a desert has let's just say they've never seen anything close to an ocean, and you're showing them a drawing on a map. Like the experience will not be the same. They're not getting that actual experience, and I think sometimes I agree with her that that's what we do with like a divine experience that some of us have experienced, and other people haven't. It's way different to just show them this map and show them this drawing and saying this thing is so amazing. You should like worship this, and you should just think this is so amazing, but they've never experienced it themselves. And it makes me think of like even being involved like in the education field for a while, of like how I saw so many field trips for urban students to be taken to the ocean, and how it was so amazing to them. Like they've seen probably movies, drawings, all the things, right? And they live in Los Angeles, which is always like 20 to 45-minute drive away, depending on where you live in LA. And these kids have never been to the ocean. Now I'm talking like either between 12 all the way up to like 17 years old, whether you're in middle school or a high school trip. And it's their first time at the ocean, and they were so excited. And I think partly because we know like how great the ocean is, and it is something for somebody who knows that it's so close, but they've never had anyone to drive them there. They've never had transportation. They've never had anyone to take the time to get them to the ocean to experience it and its greatness. And I've seen like kids like really like just overjoyed when they see it, and their eyes are so lit up, even still today, I know for me, like when I drive and I'm going down to the ocean, but once you can see it and you're like, whoa, look, there's the ocean, you see the coastline, like there it is, and point it out to my kids. It is something to be seen and something to experience. And I think having the patience for other people to have, I don't know the math, I can't drive somebody to experience God's presence, but I do have something to share that I think that maybe can be, maybe be a tip, maybe be one way to get there. And it's going to take some of this pride killing that I've been talking about, and some of that vulnerability. And from my experience, it has been when I'm pretty close to my lowest or at my lowest, and I just say, screw it. I'm going to kneel down. Right, I'm going to put on this song, or I'm just going to be fully honest with God and just say like, God, where are you? Or universe, whatever you need to say. Like, I'm not going to judge you wherever you are, or whatever you believe in. Like just calling on something that's greater than us. Let's just say that a creator, and saying, I just feel so alone. I feel so empty. I need you to show up. Like if you exist, if you're really, I think this is a dangerous prayer, to be honest, if you really want to experience it. Cause I would say more likely than not, something's gonna, and I'm not saying in a scary way, in a way that you will know, and no one else maybe even be able to understand it. But if you're just saying like, I want to see, like I challenge you, and it could be however you need to word it, but I think once you are calling, this great thing that's greater than us out, and say, because, I just feel so unloved. I feel so lonely. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know my purpose. Whatever it is, I feel lonely. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. I'm angry. There's injustices, whatever it is, and I just need to know like that you exist. And I feel like I'm all over the place with that, because it could probably sound so many different ways, but I think inviting it and killing our pride that like, I don't need anything that's greater than me. I don't need anyone else. I'm fine. But always knowing that there's like some emptiness in us, right? And just constantly ignoring that. I think there's something to killing that pride. I definitely do. And I think once we can, then I think that's the only time when we can say, you know what, I do need to see the ocean. You know what, I do need to find somebody who can give me a ride. Or you know what, I do want to see the ocean, and I'm just gonna put my request out there, and maybe somebody can get me there so I can experience it for myself, because I'm tired of just hearing about it. Like if we can get to that point about whether it's a divine experience, or I would say even as simple as rekindling your love with, a loved one, with your significant other, with your wife, with your husband, with your mom or your dad, whoever, and or your kids. It can be as small as, just your daily affection for them, or it's been a long time and, you're on the brink of divorce, and you just need to kind of kill that pride. And it may take some sacrifices. It may take, maybe you will have to take the bus, and there may be some people on there that are kind of make you uncomfortable, or maybe you might have to walk, right? Maybe it'll take a lot of time. And these are all just metaphors of just what it can look like, but when we kind of put our pride to the side. I feel like I've said a lot of things. I don't know if even I know they all make sense. I feel like I hope they make sense to everybody. This has been a good reflection for me, especially the ocean one. I thought those are, that's been really helpful for me, to kind of think about that. And I thought that was really powerful of how, one, yes, of killing our pride, letting other people know that we feel lonely. We need to feel loved. I'm not feeling that. And I think an important one is like trying to stay away from blame, especially when we're talking to people. I'm sure God can take it. Don't worry about God, the divine, however you need to say it. When we're talking about other people, people tend to take things offensive and our guards go quick. So as I'm saying all of those suggestions, you may have heard I'm not saying because I feel lonely because you're so busy. Maybe I said that in there somewhere. Try to say, just keep it on you. I feel unloved. I don't feel, I feel like my love tank is empty, and I need some, quality time from you. And I think that's my suggestion. Whether you take it, I know sometimes it takes some work to work on that wording, because we're so used to just blaming somebody. And that is a whole other topic for another episode, because I'm running up on 50 minutes here, and try to keep it under an hour. But blaming others, yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the root of it, or the way to go. I would definitely not suggest it. I think that's all I got for you today. I felt like that was a lot, talking about like asking for love, how that's rooted in really us being vulnerable, and taking the time. Like, it's difficult. I know it's difficult to like say, I don't want to say this because I'm going to feel weak and I'm going to feel like a loser. But I think all that is pride. Whether or not it was fed to you or you've come up with those on your own, it's just pride that we need to kill. And it needs to be killed like daily. And I hope that the more examples we can see of that, and as just a community, as a country, as a world, we can see more examples of that. I think we can get closer to really reciprocating and having more love that's shared in this world, because we see the need and we hear the need that people have. And I think that if we can do that with God as well, right, that can also just make things even more concrete, deeper, to lean on that relationship as well. And that one can present itself through other people. Oh, it's so complicated. I swear, and it's difficult to talk about how God can show up through other people. So this one thing I didn't say. So, you may feel something may happen, some signs may happen, right? Of calling on that divine and really to show up with love for you. You may feel like, my guess, and from my experience, I feel it right away, especially if I have like the right worship song on it, but I don't know if that's needed. I remember like in this room, so last thing, like in this room, I'm in the lowest of, I'm feeling like the darkness of my anxiety about finances. And I just didn't know what to do. And I'm like, geez, all I know to do, because of all these years, I've just been going at my Christian faith and studying and questioning and wondering and reading. I'm like, look, all I know to do, because I have nothing else, is just to get on my knees. And I was like, I don't know where it's like right there. Got on my knees one morning, put on Jireh, by like Maverick City Elevation Worship. It's one of those. If you're curious about the song, it's one of those. It's called Jireh. And just like the first words, because I'm so familiar with the song, it just broke me. And I felt definitely like the presence of God just comforting me. And while tears just ran down my face. And just knowing that I have to lean on him. And I have to just kill my pride and thinking I can figure it all out. And that everything that I'm doing needs to figure it out. And that the stock market's going to just provide for me. And maybe it can, but not maybe the way I was doing it, in a very prideful way, in a way that's like, I can fix it. I can figure it out. And as I'm not figuring out, pushing away like relationships and emotions, I think in that morning, I was on a path to killing the pride that I had, that I could figure it out. Right. And in that, there was so much fear and anxiety. But just an example of, I know I felt something right away. And I hope the same for you. And I know that sometimes, just so you're not disappointed, if you do go down this route, I'm not trying to convert anyone. I'm just sharing my experience. And, future guests, we don't have to talk about so specific religion, but it may present itself in somebody asking for forgiveness. It may be a sign on the road. It may be somebody being generous to you that you weren't expecting. I think the creator of all of this is very creative. And sometimes I just say how wild he is. Like, he's just out of here. Like, he's just so crazy. And you may get offended if I say God is crazy. I mean that in a way where it's just like wild and unpredictable. And it's very amazing and very baffling sometimes. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you, everybody who's listened this far. Again, if you're interested in coaching, I'll put it in the description. I'm trying to get 10 people to do it weekly. Well, like maybe 5 doing it bi-weekly and the other 5 doing whatever it is. I just need around 10 people, and it'll be helpful just to get the certification out of the way. I think, again, I have the tools. I've done training, and it's kind of redundant for me, but I do want this certificate. I'm going to work towards it. And if there's anything specific that you'd like me to focus on the coaching, let me know, or just classes that you would want me to make, or specific things that you are more curious about. Again, thank you everybody for listening this long. I really appreciate every listen, every like, every comment, subscription. Until next time, everybody. Peace.